So now we're going to have a look at this. What does this mean to those little technology things that Anya showed us? Totally unexciting. They don't even work well. And so on. What does that mean? Why does she want us to do technology? But before you actually, I would suggest to you that before you answer the question, and we're going to work with it, you divide your piece of paper into two. You write those principles. Students construct by reconstruction. They construct according to their goals, so that their little brain judges, that's good. It's creative. Right? You don't want them to jump to your commands, because the loops they create then are loops of dependency, lack of creativity, lack of self-reliance. And if some of you do or will do ELA200, you'll find out that Aboriginal children walk out from the class because it's not because they are self-reliant and white children are not, or European children are not. It's just that they also not only self-reliant, they have their own community with their own life. They can actually walk out from your class. Whereas our children are kind of more docile. We make them more docile and dependent. They have no alternatives. They have to stay in our classes. But self-reliance is right there in the curriculum. Under whatever word, different word. It's probably also self-reliance is probably a word out there in any event. But critical, creative, and all of these things, it's about being self-reliant. But you can only be self-reliant if your brain sees it as of value to you. So they construct by reconstructing, and they have to follow goals that they validate, their brain validates. And these goals, yes, true, they are constructed in a social context. Because the way we dress, I mean, why didn't I was in a different university, and we had a lady who used to come to university in clothes from the 17th and 18th century. Honestly, you have no idea how much room it takes. And all, yes, she was. Yeah. And it wasn't like a modest version of it. It was it. And what happened, her goals were rooted in some other context, or in some other objective, some other social world than the one that, say, I inhabited or someone else. So our goals don't derive from nowhere. They derive from our evaluation of how we are faring in our social relationships. If you replace that with you being the brain of a child, dare I say, if you merge with the child, Vygotsky, right? I don't know how many of you know Vygotsky, but you've removed everything that the child is. It became you. Now, just to make a point about Vygotsky, you can feel it. I don't like his methodology. The point really is that it was you can't measure with 25 children at once in classroom in any case, even if you actually believed in Vygotsky. How are you going to do it? And in Cambodia, they have 70 of them in classroom. How are you going to do that? So there are some sort of practical problems, not only theoretical problems with it, but also practical problems. So we're happy now, okay? So we have on the left, we have they construct by reconstruction according to the goals that their brain validates as good, and those goals come from the social context, from the social interactions that make them feel that they are actually contributing, that all is going well. Okay. So what did I do here last time? Remember me struggling here? Right, so I was asking a question, and I was hoping that this thing will record it somehow, and now and then it did. Now, 5, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 12-year-olds, will they mind if the computer takes a while before it actually throws out the text? not in the first, exactly, not in the beginning. Yeah, they love it. And then what happens, then it also depends on how it's all used. But in the beginning, what happens? Remember, children, they have little hearts, little wings. They're not really that judgmental. We become ready to be offended. Why? Because of current affairs. Don't watch that stuff. All of that. We grow a hump on our back. This is called ego. How important I am. You couldn't do this to me. The little kids, forgiving, happy. Okay. So write it for yourself. We have the
Are
one
you going
that
shopping?
children do this.
Are you going shopping?
Imagine they can't write. They're still at
Are
the
you
stage
going
where
shopping?
they can't really write. Say they're 5.
Are you
And
going
you give it
shopping?
to them. What will happen?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
But you see how we are assessing all the time from in relation to, as a teacher, they need to
Yes,
draw
I
a triangle at the end of the day. No, they don't.
Yes, I am.
You know, our world, I mean, learning is emotions. This is just as clear as anything. There's no logic. And actually, if you function by this rational logic,
Oh, no,
you actually
I'm
are doing
not.
things wrong. And the research proves anyone who doesn't actually engage emotions, doesn't base learning and decisions on emotions, actually gets everything wrong. Learning is emotional. So
What are you doing?
there's a vast array of emotions and possibilities that this particular thing can actually
going to
generate in
school.
children. This software. And you know it because you can feel it. But somehow the teacher
I'm
can't
going
see
to school.
and says, well, at the end of the class, they won't be able to draw a triangle, Anya. And I go, what about the things they will be able to do? What is writing? What
I
does
hate
a
school.
5-year-old know about writing, or 4-year-old, or 6-year-old? Do they value it?
I hate school.
You got to teach it that it's a value. How are you going to teach it? Oh, Anya, this is the response I get. We're going to bring a big book to the classroom,
I
and
hate
I
school.
will read it to them. That's how interesting it sounds. It's like me talking all day, right? That's how lovely, and you do it day in and day out until they're 12. They can't read because you were always reading to them. So what is it? What does it do to them? You show it to them, they can't read, you give it to them. What do they have to do? They record their voices, and funny thing happens. I mean, they're human beings. They're excited about life. They're not us. They are excited about everything. I mean, you give them a rock and they think it's a human being and it's a moon and it's that, and then you go like, how the heck did you work it out? Baby, it's just a pebble. No, mommy, you should see. That's all right, I can't see. Right? There's a pile of emotions there. You give them the thing to record, and what they say something, and the thing happens. They say something, and the thing happens. What do you call it? Why do we play Simon Says? Power. I say you do. It's funny, that's true, because it's not the real power, but it is about power. I click, something happens. I click, something happens. I can actually affect things. Technology for empowerment. I wish it was my word. I always meant it, but unfortunately it's a term that my friend from the community where I am actually connected said that she's a part-time teacher. She teaches, not part-time, she teaches as a replacement teacher because she says for whatever reason she doesn't want a full-time job. Because when she's part-time, she can be creative or lazy, however she will work with it, but she can fit in or she can actually do something new. But she said technology for empowerment, and I said, I hate you. I wish I used that phrase. It's my phrase. I just never put it together. So I click, something happens. I click, I can affect things. That's why children love iPads. I click, something happens. I click, something happens. I click, mommy, the more I click, new things happen. I click at home and nothing happens in the house. I keep clicking and my mother still does what she wants. My father still does what he wants. And I can only go to the fridge when they allow me and take what they allow me. I mean, I click, nothing happens. I click the iPad, things happen. The thing here. So, what else they learn? What else is a 5-year-old? What happens? They can ask you. You're not telling them. They can, I want that. And they learn, and they pretty much know. They go to shops and they can see writing everywhere. They can see there's a text. So what do they see? There's an adult created a software. Adult, which means it matters. And when I say, a text comes out. What does it say about the text? It matters. Right? They can't still draw a triangle, but what are they learning? A whole array of emotions that are needed for children to actually feel motivated to actually learn to read and write. Not your soothing voice that puts them to sleep when you read them a story as they lie on the mat. I mean, I've seen videos of this most advanced reading classes that and what were children doing, pulling each other's hair and tickling, and I mean the camera is from behind. It's amazing. You can see everything. What kids do as you are so soothingly reading that important text to them. So someone created a software. Text is seen as legitimate. Now think of that video of a chimp. Has anyone seen that video of a chimp? Lecture from last week, pardon me. I think in part 2, if you play it, I actually inserted that video of the chimp. What does the chimp do? The chimp didn't have a teacher to tell him, you've got to look in this linear way. The chimp looks and knows. The chimp looks and knows. Just knows how to do the maths. Has a memory like you wouldn't believe it. Because nobody interfered with that natural skill. So the little chimp child, the little children of ours who still have a lot of natural loops that they run from biology, they're born with it and nobody has yet interfered with them. They talk, so they say something and things happen. The things that happen must be important because otherwise they wouldn't happen, because remember, goals come from social context, and if they are in the social context and that particular thing happened but no other, then it means that writing is important. And they start experiencing writing visually. And God knows how else. I mean, I'm no neuroscientist, no God. I don't know how else they experience it. The point is they see it. They may even ask you questions and so on. Now they drive the reading. I said my name and that popped out. We'll say only, or say A. See what happens. You didn't start with the alphabet. I actually remember how I learned reading, and I am no model here for many reasons. But I never started with the alphabet. I only started with the alphabet when I already knew how to spell in Polish. And in order to actually read a different alphabet, the alphabet of Russian, I learned it in like 1 hour. I was still 6 only, so I had chimp skills. All the natural skills were there in place. Still a pretty good chimp there. And my mom gave me a book at 5 o'clock. By the end of the evening, I was reading all the text from behind of the book, because nobody was playing with my chimp skills. My brother taught me this, and he thought it was funny that the little chimp, because he was much older, he was 10 years older than me, but the little chimp is doing the thing so quickly. I mean, I was for to him like a puppy, like a chimp, like a toy, because he was still young enough not to have a concept, but old enough to see, oh, she can do all of that. It's really good. Anyway, what else can happen there? So you can see how many things you do with a stupid, boring, free software will lead to no outcomes, right? If you define outcomes as drawing a triangle, sure, they're not drawing the triangle, but in order to get to the triangle, which is the outcome, they have to go through reconstruction. And that reconstruction is intellectual and emotional, which is the same thing. Wow, I click, things happen, I have power. And the things that give me power is text. text is important. And depending on how long is the thing, the text that pops out is longer. Now, Amy, or whatever your name, Amy, can you, this is the teacher, right? Miss, why when I said the long sentence, when I spoke long, only a little bit came out? Because the computer didn't hear it, didn't register it properly. You say, the computer didn't register it properly. They get it. Okay. You have to re-record it. What do they learn? That the length of spoken has to match the length of the written. They have no concept of it. Wow. All that, Anya, through one stupid software? Yep. If you break it down for yourself, if you do not become a slave to a textbook of Winch or someone else, and you start actually breaking it down, the process of reconstruction, in an independent, critical way, you see how much comes out. But if you say, well, there is Winch for today, and when I come to classroom, I'm going to make them all draw triangles. So when they actually pop out from one class with me, they all draw triangles. Yeah, they will. But once they get to middle school, she will say, what happened to them? They are no longer human beings. There's nothing to work with. And they talk about text as beginning, middle, and end. That's ridiculous. Nobody creates a movie thinking of the structure of a movie as beginning, middle, and end. We talked about it. They have to have a so-called, in English it's called, the woman or a poisonous character, right? Someone who's really bad. They always, have you watched The Young and the Restless in any of those soap operas? There has to be some evil character so that the drama happens. What does Cinderella have? Evil mother? Evil sisters? Well, the sisters were not evil, actually. They were manipulated by the mother, but the mother was evil, right? So that's where drama came in. Otherwise, it would have been da 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 da, no contrast. So you can also think, why is it we need this sort of contrast to learn, right? Try and error. Anyway, I could talk forever about that. So you can see how much we learn just from this stupid thing, one stupid software. So maybe actually what we might do, we might go through these different softwares and discuss them in this way. And then maybe for your, if you want to make a contribution to LearnLine, maybe you could come up with some activity you would create with children with any of these softwares.